It is commonly understood that Western cultures experienced a major shift in thinking. This shift began around 250 years ago. This was a time that we now refer to as the Enlightenment. From the Enlightenment came a number of theories about the way that society exists, such as rationalism, empiricism, progressivism, and cosmopolitanism. Those are probably three isms too many, so a word of explanation to each. Rationalism is a theory that all knowledge comes from human reason rather than one's experience, one's authority, or one's spiritual revelation. Empiricism is a theory that knowledge comes to us through our senses as opposed to traditions that get passed from one generation to another. Progressivism is a theory that life gets progressively better, that new ideas, modern methods, and social change will always progress forward for the betterment of everyone. Cosmopolitanism is a theory that all human beings, regardless of their affiliations, are citizens of a single whole community. Enlightenment thinking goes further than just those isms, those theories. There are many more. It goes so far, this thinking, as to suggest that if there is a God, it must be that this God has since removed its being from the world. The universe is now one merely of cause and effect. Further, humanity will eventually achieve a state of full knowledge, when all things will be known and understood by us. Every mystery solved. All we have to do is get to a place where we know enough. Enlightenment thinking brings us to a place where we believe that miracles are just things that we don't yet know enough about. But one day we will, because there is an explanation for everything. The events of last Tuesday are an example that prove this well. Jeff Bezos, the world's richest man, went to space and back Tuesday morning as one news article begins on an 11-minute supersonic joyride aboard the rocket and capsule system developed by his space company. The cost of this trip into space, $2.54 million. That is $2.54 million per second. Over $25 million in total for what amounted to a 10-minute, 10-second trip up and back. This might raise the question within us, what could we do with $25 million? Here's one possibility. Here in Maine, 1 in 8 persons goes hungry every day. 6 of those 8 are children. To eradicate hunger in the state of Maine for 1 year, it would cost $105,832,000. $25 million could reduce Maine's hunger problem by 25% this year. In John's Gospel, we hear about another feeding problem. The miraculous story of Jesus feeding a large crowd of 5,000 people. People that heard this account before the Enlightenment would have heard it very differently. This is because during Jesus' day, miracles were more routinely accepted and were not understood as inexplicable exceptions to the rule, writes the Reverend Michael Lindvall in his book, What Did Jesus Do? Lindvall continues, most of the people who saw Jesus perform miracles were open to the idea that such wonders were part of a mysterious world. The more likely question they were more likely to ask was not, how did Jesus do that, but what does it mean that Jesus did that? As scientific exploration from biology to physics has pushed deeper and higher, science has glimpsed a universe more inexplicably mysterious than earlier science had assumed, Lindvall continues. The feeding of the 5,000 is one of several feeding stories in the Bible. Another well-known one that we might recall is in Exodus, and how God provided manna for the Israelites when they were led by Moses through the desert. This was a sign to them that there was enough to go around. We also hear in today's gospel how Jesus walked on the water near disciples when they were storm-tossed in a boat. Jesus assured them, "It is I, do not be afraid." And immediately the boat reached the land toward which they were going. Recalling that hunger is a biblical symbol for discontentment, and water is a biblical symbol for chaos, when instead of asking, how did God do that, we ask, what is the meaning behind what God is doing? When we ask this question, we discover a God that has not abandoned creation, but a God that continues to be active in it. Jesus demonstrates God's ultimate power, this God who is present and active. Several days of torrential rain have now passed, and the floodwaters begin to rise. As the water reaches the porch of a house, the homeowner notices a family drifting by in a boat. They invite her to climb aboard. "No," she replies, "I have faith that God will save me." So they move on to the neighbor's house, who with great relief accepts the family's invitation. Meanwhile, the first homeowner continues to pray, "Please God, if it is your will, come and save me from this flood." Many minutes pass. The water continues rising. Sure enough, another boat comes by offering the same invitation as the first. "No," comes the reply. "I have faith that God will save me." Continuing her prayers, the water continues to rise. By this time, she is forced to climb up to the house roof. While sitting on the roof continuing her prayers, a helicopter comes by and lowers a basket for her to get into, an offer of rescue. But she refuses, telling the rescuers, "No, no, I have faith that God will save me." The helicopter moves on. Mere moments pass. The homeowner is washed away. She drowns. Entering into heaven, she blusters to God, "Lord, I prayed with ultimate faith that you would save me. I prayed, I never doubted. What happened?" To this God answered, "I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter. What else did you want?"